Section 143E of the CPCL gives right to private individual whom he or she, has the reason to believe or suspects that a crime has been committed. You're watching Regnum Continuous Legal Education, and my name is Ruth Obu. On today's episode, we'll be looking at the role of private persons in persecution in the role of private persons in the persecution.
Arrest and prosecution.
Okay, the role of private persons in prosecution of offenders under the law. I'm sorry about that. Before we kickstart, we'll be going on a short break. Please stay with us.
BBC's music.
King of kings and Lord of lords, holiness, Olumbabu, the supreme judge of the universe, now seated upon the throne, the holy throne of his father, great leader, Olumbabu. All spirits, seen and unseen, must worship the living Christ, else it will be, it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
It will be a bumpy ride.
The fury of his judgment is rocking the universe. All over the human race, prejudice prevails. All over the human race, injustice prevails. Genocide and strife, armament and war. Preemptive execution is the way of the world. It will be a bumpy ride.
It will be a bumpy ride.
The giver of peace is back on earth, His Holiness King Olumbabu. In brotherhood we stand, the only source of peace. In the world there is no real peace.
It will be a bumpy ride.
The human race should listen to the living Christ. No one can escape thy wrath, oh God. We gotta coexist in love, else it will be a bumpy ride. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
It will be a bumpy ride.
Fire and flood, infectious diseases are in action. Natural disasters are symptoms of his judgment. Inhabitants of this world recognize his omnipotence. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
It will be a bumpy ride.
Political insanity is the word of the world. Brotherhood and peace is what we need, because in the world there is no real peace. In the world there is no real peace.
It will be a bumpy ride.
you're just joining us, you're still watching the Regnum Continuous Legal Education. And my name is Ruth Obu. And I'd like to remind you of the topic of discussion today, which is the role of private persons in the arrest and prosecution of offenders under the law. I won't be doing this alone, of course. You know, traditionally we have guest speakers here, and I would like to start with Christ Ambassador Barrister Kenneth Itoro Abasi. You're welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good
How are you
evening,
doing?
Ruth. I'm fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. I only watch you, and now I'm so pleased to be sitting, you know, with you on the set.
Yes, we will do this together
Thank you.
till the end.
Okay,
Right.
Thank you. Sitting right beside him is Christ Ambassador Barrister Idara Ebo. Peace of the Father. Oh, good
Peace.
evening, sir.
Peace.
Let's use that.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
We are doing fine.
Okay, I can see. Okay, without much ado, I'd like to move swiftly into the first question, and that is, what is a crime/offense? This is what we'll be talking about today, and that is why my opening had this. So I would be starting with Christ Ambassador Kenneth Itoro Abasi. What is a crime/offense?
Yeah, an offense is a crime. A crime is an offense. But by way of definition, a crime is just a disobedience to a set of rules and regulations made by the state for the good governance of that state. That is, it is a disobedience to a set of rules and regulations made by a state
Okay.
for the good governance, for the welfare, public order, public peace, and good governance of that state. That is what a crime is. You remember that John Austin, when asked to define law, I said that law is what comes from a political superior to a political inferior, and that where there is a breach or non-compliance or disobedience, then there is a punishment. We can bring that definition to a crime. But what I want our audience to know, or I wish our audience to know, is that whatever is tagged a crime may not in actual sense be a crime. And I want to give you an example. That's to the people. It might not be a crime.
Why?
It depends on what the state, because the offense of a criminal breach is an offense against a state, the state. And I want to give you an example, and you said why, and let me now give you that example. For instance, we have bitter cola in Nigeria. You can just go out of the street now. You can buy bitter cola. But there are some countries in the world that if you take bitter cola into that country, it is an offense. And sometimes punishable by beheading. The same bitter cola you are buying and eating, and say, oh, it's good for malaria. You take it into another country. There are some countries in the Arab world, you take that same bitter cola into that country, it is an offense. It is seen as narcotics, hard drugs. That's one example. Another example is our seatbelt in our car. You enter your car, you are not on your seatbelt, and then road safety will do what? Arrest you. And then
That's
they
a
give
crime,
you.
right?
Yes, it's a crime. Once the road safety people on demand find out that you were not wearing a seatbelt, you have committed an offense, which is punishable by a fine. Say, go and pay into the bank. But in the course of this discussion, we will find out that whether that fine can be taken for a conviction. You understand?
Yes.
So that was what I was trying to clear, that not in all cases that whatever we are being punished for, or whoever is being punished for, may be in the negative sense. But what the state sees as being prejudicial to that state might become a crime. For instance, in some countries, worshipping in the name of Jesus Christ is a crime. Let me not even mince words about that. Let me not mention the countries, but we all know. You walk into that country and you mention the name of Jesus Christ, your head goes into the guillotine because you mentioned the name of Jesus. That's on most countries. You understand? In the European, European and in the Islamic world, you go there and mention Jesus Christ, your head goes off. But the issue is the mention of the name of Jesus Christ. Is there anything wrong? The answer is no. But for that country, it is a crime. So now, for us here, we have that the crime can simply be defined as an action or omission which constitutes an offense, an action or omission. I don't know, you get it now?
Yes.
In the first case, you took Coca-Cola nuts or bitter cola into a country. That is an action. In the second instance, you didn't wear a seatbelt. That is an omission, which constitutes an offense and is punishable by law. It is the intentional commission of an act usually deemed socially harmful or dangerous by the state and specifically defined and prohibited and punishable by the law which is made by that state. Then for a crime to be committed, there must be a criminal act and a guilty mind. So let me stop there. Let us hear what my learned brother will also chip in by way of what is a crime.
Okay, thank you so very much, Mr. Kenneth.
Yes.
Basi. Let's hear from you, Mr. Idara Ebo.
Yes, as my colleague has said, see, in any defined society, there are norms and rules. Some of these norms have been classified as offenses against states. Some are not. Now, if an individual goes contrary to those ones that have been classified as crime or offense, these words are interchangeable.
Okay.
If anybody goes contrary to it, such a person has committed a crime. Or we call it is an offender. Now, as my colleague has said, in criminal law, there is issue of intention. Mr. A intentionally did this or not? Is it by or Mr. A intentionally failed to do what he's supposed to do? That defines, that is, in law we call mens rea, that is an intention. Then the other aspect of a crime is actually doing it. So that is a brief issue of, if I may add something to what my colleague has already said. In a very simple way, he has put it for people to understand.
Okay, thank you so very much. I have a question. Okay, let me direct it to you,
Yeah, please.
Mr. Kenneth. So
Yes.
he has talked about doing something intentionally. So what if the person who has committed the crime
Yes.
comes out to plead that he or she is not guilty or wasn't intentional about the thing he or she did? What then will happen to them?
That is why the English language calls it an accident.
Okay.
The English language calls it an accident. If a person comes out to plead that he did not, and in most cases it normally happens,
Okay.
that for instance somebody intentionally hit someone, and under section 29 of the criminal code, if I'm not mistaken, he now claims that he was drunk. He didn't have the mental capacity to understand that he was hitting somebody because of his drunken state.
Yeah.
You understand? Now, if at the end of the day we call that alibi, we call it alibi. If that alibi can succeed, it makes that action an accident for which he cannot be punished. If that alibi of insanity, because at that time he is claiming insanity,
Yes.
if that alibi of insanity is sustained, then he cannot be held liable because that becomes an accident.
Okay, this is Nigeria.
Now, in the one that he was trying to, the situation he was trying to paint, let us look at the situation. He said The person he wants to. There was a plan to. There was an intention to. Or there was an intention, and then there was no action. Yes, I think I heard him say so.
Yes.
Now let us look at the case of conspiracy. Somebody conspired that when Mr. A is passing down that road, they will kill Mr. A. That was a conspiracy. You understand?
Yes.
But now the real action is being done by the person that actually carried the cutlass, followed Mr. A down the road, and actually cut him to pieces. You see the difference?
Yes.
While Mr. A will be standing trial for conspiracy, Mr. B will be standing trial for murder. Because he actually converted the intention. You know, if you go into people's bedroom and hear what they say about people, you can pity the person. You understand?
Yes.
But who actually comes out to act? If anything happens under that circumstance, the person that actually came out to act that script that was being spoken is actually the person that will go in for that action. So somebody could have said, that man, yeah, I think I've had enough of him. The next time our paths cross, I'm going to kill him. But they actually did not carry a murder weapon against that. But some other person that they had that deals together actually followed the man, traced out where he's living, followed him where he wanted to go, and maybe ease himself, and then hacked him to death. While this man will be sentenced at the end of the day for conspiracy, the other man will be sentenced for murder. So that is the difference. That is a good distinction between what we call the actus reus and the mens rea. The actus reus is the real action, while the mens rea is the intention, which in this case now the person can either fall into accessory after the fact of murder or conspiracy. You see the two. While the other person is actually standing trial for murder because he was the one that converted the intention into an action.
At the end of the day, both of them will still be punished, right?
They will be punished, but the severity of punishment
Won't be the same.
will be the same. The murder person definitely will go in, he will be sentenced to death.
Or life imprisonment.
No, life imprisonment is even for manslaughter. The man that is convicted for murder, for kidnapping, for treason, goes in for death sentence. While the man that goes in for conspiracy might have a 10 years imprisonment. That means he might see the light of day again. But the other man that is convicted for murder definitely is dead by hanging or by firing squad or whatever, a lethal injection, but the person definitely will pay with his life. So the difference is in the severity of the punishment.
Okay, thank you so very much. I have another question. Yes, if you're just joining us, you're still watching the Regnum Continuous Legal Education. Yes, and we are learning. I am learning a lot today. I hope you're also paying attention to learn, to know everything about, law, so you won't, go commit a crime you're not doing intentionally. Yeah, sometimes we do these things not intentionally because we think we are doing the right thing, but the law would say you are wrong and you may face the law. So please open your ears and do not touch the dial. Now here's the question.
Yes.
This is Nigeria, right?
Yes.
We know that Nigeria is one of the most corrupt country. I'm sorry to say this, but this is the reality, the sad reality. So now somebody does something that is wrong, but knows deep down him or her that this is wrong, and he comes to the law court to say, I beg to be, what's the word again? I'm not guilty. Yes, I begs not to be guilty of the thing he has done. How will you know that this person is lying? Sometimes this person actually committed that crime knowingly and not under the influence of alcohol or any other thing. How will you fetch this person out?
Well, the job of the lawyer, the greatest tool that a lawyer has,
Is the Bible.
is not the Bible.
Okay.
The greatest tool, but in biblical terms, in the church, in worshiping of God, the greatest tool is the Bible. But when it comes to the court of law, the greatest weapon a lawyer has is cross-examination. What we call cross-examination. During cross-examination, the sky is the limit for any lawyer. And you see, our people say something in the BBO. We say, the person that told you what to say will not tell you the question they will ask you. He told you actually what to come and say. But as he told you the question that they will ask you. So it is during the questioning session that we call cross-examination. Most of those settings will crumble like a pack of cards. And the truth will come out. So all these people that have been sentenced to death and they have actually paid with their lives, was the lawyer there when they committed the offense? The lawyer wasn't there. But by the time the facts, there is what we call legal reasoning, law and fact. By the time the law and the facts are juxtaposed, the truth will come out. And it will be based on that confessional statement of the accused person that they will be convicted. So many persons have been convicted right from the time of Adam. God was all seeing, but let's assume God was not there. God came in. Adam, where are you? So I'm naked. Who told you I'm naked? He has already started confessing something. Am I right?
Yes.
He has started saying something. He said, who told you I'm naked? The woman you gave me to eat. What did you eat? So when we go to court, we see a lot of these things. They come, they tell the story so nicely. Yesterday I was in court and I saw a man that was set free after 7 years for breaking an entry. He told the story so nicely, but his defense during cross-examination fell like a pack of cards. And the truth came out and he was sentenced. So it happened
7 years in prison.
to 7 years imprisonment. So it normally happens that way. So leave that for the law. We won't come here and tell you what we normally do so that you won't take our job. But when we get to court, the cross-examination will bring out. That is when we will even know that this man only conspired and that it was actually this man that actually used the machete on the person. It is during cross-examination that all that comes out. So leave that is our job.
Okay, thank you so very much. I don't know. I can't be a lawyer, I can't be. Okay, to you, Mr. Idarebo, I also
Yes.
have a question for you.
Yes.
Now, what happens to a person who is not guilty and does not have a strong barrister, to represent him, a strong lawyer to represent him in the court of law? What happens to that person? Would you believe whatever he says? Like one man standing, for example, let me use myself as a case study. I am alone there, I do not have any backup, nobody to speak for me. Would you believe everything I would say? Like if you are my opponent now, would you believe everything I say and sets me free according to what I have told you?
Well, the first intention of me taking you to court is that in me, as a prosecution counsel, I believe that you have committed a crime. That is the purpose of taking somebody, or what we call in court, arraign the person before the court to face the trial. Now,
What if it's just a false allegation?
false allegation. If it is false allegation, it is the duty of the prosecution, which is the state, could be the state council or office of the attorney general, that is going to prosecute. What the prosecution will do is, the prosecution will tell the court the facts of the matter, what Mr. A standing trial has done and what he or she has failed to do. Now, the defense, that is the person standing trial, will now ask questions. Will ask the prosecution question. The prosecution witness, that is the person that is talking for the state. That's what we call prosecution witness. Will now ask a question. Your question was, if I don't have a lawyer? Yes. Depending on the nature of the crime, you are free to defend yourself. But if it is any crime that is punishable by death, when you don't have a counsel, a lawyer to defend you, the state will provide you with a lawyer.
Free of charge.
Free of charge. There is such provisions in our laws. There's a
In
body
today's
called
Nigeria.
Legal Aid Council.
Okay.
All their duty is to defend people that cannot afford the cost of hiring a lawyer of their choice. That is one aspect. As we said, there are other offenses that ideally the court will not, because the law even the law provides that where a person is standing trial for a capital offense or offense that carries life sentence, there should be, the state should where the person cannot afford the service of a counsel by himself or herself, that the state should provide. And most often you go to a court, you see a defendant, that is the accused person, like I'm an accused person standing trial before the court. Now, when the matter is being called in court, the person standing for the state, that is the government, because when somebody commits a crime, the assumption is you have committed a crime against the state, not an individual. Even when I steal your property, you are a witness to the state. It's the state that is going to prosecute me. So now, if I'm called out that I don't have a counsel to present me, depending on the nature, the punishment, what the state look at, what the law look at is the severity of the punishment on conviction. What is the punishment? Now, if the punishment for such an offense is either death sentence or life sentence, the court will, on that basis, ask you, where is your lawyer? You say you don't have. The court may now ask you, do you want the state to provide you with a lawyer, or you want to hire a lawyer by yourself? If you say cannot afford a service of a lawyer, then the courts will make an arrangement for you to have a counsel to defend you. But you have a choice, because it's constitutional that you should be defended by a lawyer of your choice. Even when the state hire you a lawyer and you feel that that lawyer is not protecting your interests, you can raise hand and tell the court that, please, I want to change that counsel. I want to change my lawyer. Then they will give you that liberty. The matter will be adjourned to a future day to enable you have a service of a lawyer of your choice. But there are other offenses that one is standing trial. You don't have a counsel representing you, because the nature of the punishment, if you are convicted, is lesser. You are free to defend yourself. You don't need the service of a lawyer.
For instance, in a case of sanitation offense, like in Akwa Ibom State, we normally have sanitation every last Saturday of the month, and then you actually went out, you were not an essential service. Sure, you know the ingredients. Were you an essential service? No. So why are you not, obeying the law of the state? Like I told you earlier, not all what we call offenses are negative. They are not all bad. For instance, the government says every last Saturday of the month, like next week in Akwa Ibom State, is going to be sanitation. And then on that sanitation day, you didn't go out. I mean, you didn't observe the sanitation, you actually went out. And the police arrested you. There is a sanitation court, and they take you there. You understand? In that kind of case, like he's trying to explain, you don't need the services to be imposed, the services of a lawyer by the Legal Aid Council, which is actually constitutional by section 46 of the 1999 Constitution. You don't need that, because all the state will impose on you is maybe go and do the sanitation, or pay a fine for not doing the sanitation, or don't go to work for 3 days, one of those little punishments. So in that kind of situation, you could actually defend yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So are you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so very much. Now you've talked about sanitation. I really want to forge ahead.
Yeah, let's forge ahead, yes.
Yes, I have another question. But
let's forge ahead.
Let's forge ahead. So the next one is, what is the classification of crimes and offense? I'll start with you.
Well, to classify offenses is like we have been trying to explain all this while. It's all about the severity of the offense. I mean, of the punishment. So you will classify by law, classify a crime or an offense as a felony, or as a misdemeanor, or as a simple offense. And in the course of our discourse earlier, we have even touched on all of them.
Yes.
A felony is declared by law to be a felony, and it is that offense that is punishable without proof or of previous conviction. That is, you've not been convicted before, or the person has not been convicted before, but is either sentenced to imprisonment sentenced to death, or to an imprisonment above 3 years. You get the ingredient now.
Yes.
It is either he has not committed an offense before, but that offense he has now committed, he will be sentenced to death or to an imprisonment above 3 years. And now, if we want to get into that category, we will find out that murder, kidnapping, treason, rape, breaking and entry, and such like offenses, what we call advanced fee fraud, all these offenses fall above 3 years. Assault occasioning harm, which is actually 3 years. I mentioned that one because in the course of our discourse, we will see how it affects arresting a private person, arresting people.
Okay.
Because in the process, you will, hold the person, and maybe he might have some wound on himself, or he will actually be injured. In that kind of circumstance, maybe later you now discover that the offense wherewith he was suspected to have committed was false. He didn't actually commit, or maybe we find out that the person that actually did it with malice. So when we get to that point, that is why I actually mentioned assault occasioning harm. All these offenses are above 3 years, so they are felonies. Then the other aspect is what we call a misdemeanor, which I will allow my learned friend to continue from there.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Barrister Kenneth.
Yes.
Misdemeanor, one of the classes of offenses, are offenses that once commits, and on conviction, the punishment, the sentence is less than 3 years. That's a typical definition of misdemeanor in Nigeria. Something like assaults. Underline assaults, not with arm. One or two people can fight on the streets. That's a typical example of affray or whatever. That's a sample of assaults. Those ones that which the law stipulates the punishment of less than 3 years. Then we equally have what we call simple offenses. These are offenses that attracts punishment on conviction 6 months or less. That is what we call simple offenses.
Okay.
Yes. I'm okay.
Okay. Thank you so very much. You have questions.
So for
here, but
Miss-
before then, let me ask this question because
Okay.
we're talking about classifications of crime/offense.
Okay.
So now you have a 16-year-old child. I know that it is not right for you to arrest a child when he or she is not up to 18. And now here you have a child of maybe 15, 16 committed a crime, committed a very huge crime, maybe murder or rape because of peer pressure or something. So what then will you do? How do you classify the offense of that child or the crime?
Well, if a child of less than 16 years, like you said, or about 16 years commit murder, the child has committed a murder. He has killed, he has committed rape. But it is how the law is going to treat the child that makes the difference.
Okay.
Uh,
I want to know how the law is going to. You are
Let me assist him. Let me assist him. You see, like I was trying to say, I was saying that when it comes to misdemeanor, that aspect, I wanted to strengthen it for the sake of our audience.
Okay.
When it comes to misdemeanor, the offense should be between 3 years and 6 months. That is, any offense that is committed that is punishable by between below 3 years and not below 6 months is a misdemeanor. And good examples that we have is petty theft, like he said, the simple assault, affray, even prostitution. Even prostitution. Even prostitution is not part of, I mean, it's part of misdemeanor in under Nigerian law. Prostitution, affray, and all that. But that, for the question that you've asked, I don't know, you really know what you are asking.
Yes.
Yeah, you do, because under Nigerian law, there is the Child Rights Act 2003, which has been replicated. And it was actually born out of the Child Rights Act, a worldwide convention on the child that Nigeria adopted, is a party member to that convention. So we adopted the Child Rights Act in Nigeria. So there is a Child Rights Act in Nigeria 2003. Now, for instance, in the jurisdiction where we are coming from, which is Akwa Ibom State, there is a Child Rights Law 2008. So if a child commits an offense at that age, by age 16, you understand,
Yes.
which time he has not attained the age of majority,
Yes.
it is the Child Rights Act and the Child Rights Law that is being applied in punishing that child for the offense. You understand?
Yes,
So if the child, the pertinent question that it should have come from you is, if that child committed that offense at the age of 16, and then in the process of trial, as at the time, yes, as at the time of conviction, because the process, the trial process grinds slowly. The arm of the law grinds slowly, but surely. Now the man has, for instance, gone through the magistrate court, and then the matter has been, appealed. Let's assume it is appealed or transferred to the High Court. Don't forget, time is going.
Yes.
And then he wastes 3 years there. He committed the offense at 16, he's now 19. And then he leaves that High Court to Court of Appeal. Before they could deliver the judgment, they spent 5 years there. Oh, sorry, Court of Appeal will say they waste time. No. Okay, let's assume he spends 2 years there. He's now 21. And then they move the matter to the Court of Appeal. To the Supreme Court. He spends 4 years there. So as at the time of delivery of the judgment, he is now 25. So the question should have been, at that point, which age, which law will apply to him? Is it the conventional criminal code law or criminal code act, or is it the Child Rights Law or the Child Rights Act? You understand?
Yeah.
Because it's at the point of delivery of judgment but at the point of commission of offense, he was a minor to the law. But I know that, for instance, in Akwa Ibom State, there is a correctional center
For children.
for children. Yes, there is a correctional center for children under the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Welfare, which I'm sure in order, because the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Welfare is practicing what is being laid down by the Child Rights Act. You understand?
Yes.
So I'm believing that nationwide there are correctional centers for children that are below the age of mingling with the adults when it comes to commission of offenses, especially capital offenses like kidnapping and murder. But the issue remains, did that child, as at the time of committing that offense, have the mental capacity to be charged with that offense? we will answer that in the nearest future. Let's go ahead.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Yes.
You've really spoken well. I also know that sometimes adults commit crime and they push it on the children because they know that they will not be charged. You know, they will not be punished as they
The
would
situation,
have.
it has changed. They will be charged and punished. But the issue is that as at the time of being remanded, they are not sent to the conventional prison. There is a delinquent prison where they are being kept for people that have committed offenses, not only murder, rape, all those things at that age. There is a place they are being kept. At least I have visited one of those centers in Akwa Ibom State. That's why I'm being so authoritative, speaking as an authority on it, because I have visited one of those centers behind Champion Breweries in Akwa Ibom State. That is where that correctional center is. You go and find out that nobody that is of the age of 18 is there. It's just children. And then when I went through, some of them actually committed murder while they were in secondary school. Some of them had committed rape. Some of them had actually joined senior people to commit kidnapping. But at that point, they will be separated from those senior people and kept in that other facility, while the senior people are sent to the conventional correction centers.
Okay, thank you very much. You have a question here on our YouTube page from Sister Gladys Onyabo.
Yes.
Please, can you explain to us why some people are wrongly sentenced 20 or 30 years in jail, and at last they realize such crimes were not committed? How are these people going to be compensated?
Yeah, that's a very nice question from my sister Gladys.
Oh, let me finish.
Okay.
Especially for the fact that they have wasted their youthful lives in jail. Especially for, okay, that's a repetition. Especially for the fact that they have wasted their youthful lives in jail for crimes they did not commit.
Yeah, if I'm to, well, like I said before, that's a very nice question from Sister Gladys. I don't know about in Nigeria, but elsewhere, like in the United States, I know that some people that were convicted, that were sentenced, convicted, and even the sentence they were executed, those sentences were executed on them. I know that their families were duly compensated. Monetary compensation. There is usually provision for monetary compensation to persons that were wrongly convicted, sentenced, and even executed. If the person was executed is no longer alive, the family of that person will take the compensation. Of course, if I cannot remember the name, a man that was above 60 was recently released from an American prison, and so much was paid to him as compensation for having stayed in that correctional center for 40 years. I can remember I have read such a story in recent times. So there is provision for that. Even under Nigerian law, there is provision for people that will come out to file for false imprisonment, for libel, for slander. They will be compensated when it was shown that the person that set the law motion against them did that with malice. That he did it with malice. That he just wanted him to be convicted at all costs. That what will happen was not a prosecution, but rather it was a persecution. There is provision for compensation. But what is not immediately clear is who pays the compensation. Whether it is the state or the person that set the law in motion. But I know that the person that set the law in motion, if he is alive as at the time it is found out that he set that law in motion maliciously, he has to be responsible to the victim.
Okay, so what if he's not financially buoyant? What happens then?
If he is not financially buoyant, then the victim is left off the hook and then he takes his place. If it is found out within 3 years, 4 years, that they actually set the motion in place with malice, then he will now face the law, and then the convicted man will be set free.
That's amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so very much. So
Yes.
nothing like compensating the other person financially, like
Who?
even after they've taken turns.
No, he has to be
The state
compensation.
will. The state
Yes, the
will.
state will compensate him financially. Yes,
Okay.
there is under the constitution. there is provision for adequate compensation in such circumstances. There is.
Okay,
There
thank
is.
you very much, Barrister.
Yeah.
Kenneth, do you have any?
Now I have something to add.
Okay.
I said there is a legal authority that I have provided here, that where the law provides only imprisonment as punishment. This is also important. Where the law provides for only imprisonment as punishment and is silent on a fine. He has only provided imprisonment as punishment and is silent on a fine. I am saying that fine in lieu of imprisonment, that is fine in place of imprisonment, can be obtainable. But where that law says that it is without option of a fine, that offense that they committed during the sentencing, the punishment, it says that it is without an option of a fine, then fine cannot be given or substituted for imprisonment. The person definitely has to be imprisoned. That is whether it is a felony, or it is a misdemeanor, or it is a simple offense. Where it is provided that it is without option of fine, then that person must definitely be imprisoned. And then in Nigeria, we have been hearing things like suspended sentences elsewhere. But I don't think in Nigeria we have suspended sentences unless that person is in exile and that judgment was delivered in his absence. So it looks as if that sentence has been suspended. But anytime the person touches his leg on the soil of Nigeria, that law begins to count on him. You understand? That law will immediately catch up with him. If he just steps his foot in our airport, he will be arrested by security operatives, and that sentence, that conviction, will definitely send him to the prisons.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Except in cases of plea bargain, what we call plea bargain, where the man has stolen so much. Of recent times where the man has stolen 50 billion and then they will plea bargain and say bring back 30 billion. Okay, that's what we can find in the account right now, bring that back. But even in that case of plea bargaining, the man has been convicted for dishonesty. He has been convicted for dishonesty. So,
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you very
So
much. You have something to
if
add.
I may add to the issue of compensation, wrongful sentence or even death. I know there was a case in Oyo State, though I can't recall the citation of that case, where a breadwinner of a family was executed even before the appeal court sat on the matter. When the family took up the matter with the government, the family was compensated financially. But you see, the issue of somebody being wrongly convicted, which when he or she goes on appeal, the appeal court will quash the judgment. In Nigerian society, a lot of people are so much afraid of taking up their matter. They don't want to spend money to take up their matter. You see, if on the process of being arrested by wrongful arrest, or having convicted wrongly, which somebody caused it, upon being out of the place, I have the right to sue the person for malicious prosecution. Or even if I'm not being convicted or sentenced, but I realize that what Mr. A is doing to me is very wrong. It's not the government that one should be looking up to. Please come and punish that Mr. A or B for me. The law permits me or my family member or my dependents to take up the matter in courts and tell the court, look, my breadwinner, my brother, or so was wrongly persecuted. Please compensate. And if the court find it out that what my claim before the court is right, the court will ask the person that brought up that matter, that falsely reported me to the police, that lead to the sovereign to compensate me. The other aspect is for, if the court says I should be paid 50 naira, am I ready to pursue that 50 naira? See, the law is there that to solve so many problems for us, but most often we just leave everything. You let God take over. God will revenge. So it's not the government that will, in such situation, that will come and take up a private. Government already have more than enough in its hands to handle.
Okay, thank you so very much. I have a question, but I think there is time for that because now you have mentioned God, in the law courts. So we'll come back to that. So watching ahead, I have another question here, which is what are the types of offense? I know we have talked about that already.
No, let's rather look at the legal significance of the classification before we go to the types.
Okay.
Now, the first legal significance is the gravity of the punishment prescribed by the law. The gravity of the offense is very important. And then the second, it is whether it is easy to obtain bail. For instance, if it is a murder case, which is a capital offense, it is not easy to get bail. If it is kidnapping, it is not easy to get bail. Then the third significance is where in felonies there are such offenses as compounding and negligence. Like we were talking about accessory after the fact of murder or conspiracy, you understand? And then the fourth are what defenses are available to charges of assault, false imprisonment, malicious prosecution, libel of the private person or the public officer that was involved. We are looking at a situation where the man committed murder, wanted to run and you grab him. You understand? At the end of the day, the man might charge you, like he said, for malicious prosecution. He might charge you for assault, occasioning harm. He might charge you for libel, that you spoiled his name, that is a murderer. Those are the legal significance of the classifications that are available. So you can go ahead and talk about the types. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. You have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's know the types of offense.
Well,
Let him take that.
In Nigerian jurisprudence, we have two types of offenses: capital and non-capital offenses.
Okay, please explain.
What we mean by capital offense? An offense that somebody commits and the punishment is death, like murder. Armed robbery. There's even between robbery and armed robbery. Even if I use a broom and attack somebody, that is armed robbery.
Okay.
If at the end of trial I'm convicted for armed robbery, the punishment is death. That's a capital offense.
Okay.
Then non-capital offense are those offenses that one will get a sentence or fined. Those are non-capital offenses.
Okay, like the sanitation your colleague talked about
Yes.
earlier on.
Yes.
Okay.
Assaults, even affray or whatever. Those are non-capital offenses. Corruption, though the magnitude and the fact of corruption in Nigeria has been so much, but it's a non-capital offense.
Okay, thank you very much. You have anything to add? If you do, I have a question.
Please do.
Yes, because you talked about arresting someone maybe who steals money or something. So now I want to know how most of our, let me call them dignitaries, right? Those at the top, they commit a lot of crime, yet they get away with it. Is it that our lawyers are not doing the best? Because according to you, these crime are, there are laid down rules by the state, right? So now this includes everything. So how then do these people commit great crime, sorry, and then they get away with it with their monies?
Is it? Wait. Let me get you right. Are you talking about the situation of plea bargain?
Yes.
Plea bargain. Plea bargain is conviction. If a man stole 50 billion, and then at the court they can recover 30 billion from him at the court, the man has been convicted because there is proof of stealing. You understand?
Yes.
But the issue is if they entered into a plea bargain, like I was trying to explain that there is suspended sentence. I said it's not in Nigeria. But in the case of plea bargain, the man has been convicted. It's just that it was a financial crime and the money has been collected from him. I don't know if you get it.
Yeah.
So many people have been convicted, but for the sake of this program, let's not mention them. High-ranking people, governors, they have gone to prison, they have come back. Let's not mention names. And if you Google it, you will find out. High-ranking places. Some have run away from the country. Some are begging to come back. Some are everything that belonged to them had been forfeited. So these people that are committing the offense, the only thing that I see is that during the subsistence of that government, because of what we call immunity, they may not move against them as at that time. But immediately that immunity is removed after they have stepped out of office, like those governors, they were having immunity as at that time. So at that time it looked as if nothing will happen. But after they have left office, the long arm of the law caught up with them. They made plea bargains. The monies were collected from them. The government in power refuses to accept the plea bargain and they were sent to prison. But what you must distinguish is that in those kind of offenses, though I know that in China, in other jurisdictions like in China, I could remember one Zheng Xiaoyu, who was the head of drug administration in China.
Drug?
Yeah, head of the drug administration, the equivalent of NAFDAC in Nigeria. He was the head of that drug administration corporation in China. And during his tenure, there were some lapses that led to fed drugs in China, and the man was sentenced to death. His appeal within minutes of sentencing was refused by the Court of Appeal in China, and Zheng Xiaoyu was executed. What you should be talking about is when do we get to that level where no matter how highly placed, you see, during that, what did he do? He didn't kill anybody, but what he did was that he collected bribes and allowed fake drugs to be brought in from other countries, and that state understood that that is what he did. And he was removed from office, charged for corruption, and executed. So gradually we are moving forward and we will eventually get to that point. In Nigeria, thank you.
God help us.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, before I ask that question, your colleague here talked about types of offense as capital and non-capital. Yeah, and you said you had something to add to that.
Capital and non-capital?
Yes.
No, I just wanted to say manslaughter is a non-capital offense. That's all I wanted to add, because we are having a difference between murder and manslaughter. Manslaughter maybe about 15 years, so it is non-capital. You understand? It is a non-capital offense because the only difference between murder and manslaughter is that this person moved by virtue of passion, great anger. You understand? He was provoked. He was defending himself. We are looking at a situation where the man was walking and all of a sudden he had a machete at his back. And as he turned around, he just collected the machete and threw it. And then the thing cuts the other man's head off. This one has committed murder. You understand? But
well, that's a case of defense.
That is what I'm saying. And this man has committed murder. The man that threw the knife, collected the knife now, threw it and killed the other person who actually used the machete on his back, has committed murder. But you now see that the difference between murder and manslaughter is that this other action, the murder, is premeditated. I gave you a slap now. You go back, you sit down, you think, why should Barrister Kenneth slap me like that? I must revenge that slap. And when you came back, you came with a machete, or with a cutlass, or with a kitchen knife, or with a dagger. And as you come back to me, say, my Mr. Kenneth, why did you slap me? And as I wanted to go to hell, what will you do? You give it to me, and in the process, I die. In that kind of circumstance, that is premeditated because you had enough cooling off period. There is a cooling off period.
Yes.
That time you went back home, something will have told you, leave him now, he has slapped you, what is it? Go and lie down. You must have told someone, and they must have told you, forget it. That is how he behaves now. He's even playing with you. That is how he plays. And you say, me? You do that to me and get away, I must get back to him. You carry a machete and come and then cut me. That is premeditated. But in the case that you are just going, I hit the machete on your back, bam, and as you just turned, you collected the knife, and then as you throw it in that rage of anger, it cuts me off and I die. That is manslaughter, because you did that in self-defense. There was no cooling off period. You did it out of passion. You were in danger of death. So the law distinguishes between the two. Between a situation where the action happened, the man went back home, had a cooling off period, came back for revenge, and death results. And a situation where, as you just turned, the hand you just give me, boom, I just fell down, that was the end. That is manslaughter. So this manslaughter now is not a non-capital offense, while the murder is a capital offense.
Okay, thank you so very much for
Yes.
that in-depth explanation. Now I know. Like I
Yes.
said, we are here to learn. I am learning. I hope you are also learning. So now we move swiftly to arrest. I'd like you to talk about that. What is an arrest?
Arrest. Constitutionally, the Constitution has provided us with liberty. That nobody, the state should not restrict my movement, my liberty, or every citizens or even residents. When you say residents, even foreigners enjoy that provisions of the law. Now, a situation where I have been restricted, my liberty has been restricted by the state or individual, that is an arrest. Now, in arresting a person, the law provides that when you arrest a person, you should take that person, because like me and you, we are not our institutions. There are institutions that are provided to take care of such issues. If I arrest Mr. A, Mr. A should be taken to a proper organization that are meant to keep the person, to custody the person, depending on what the law provides for such a situation. Because generally, arrest is to restrict somebody's liberty. At times, the restriction may be positive or may be negative. You see a child playing on an highway, you can restrict the liberty as soon as you stop the child from continuing with such an act. That is a sort of arrest, but that is a positive arrest.
Okay.
The negative arrest, which most often is the one that is applicable, is I've committed a crime, or I'm in the process of committing a crime, or somebody suspect me that I've done something against the laws of the states. Then the person walks in restrict my movement. That's an arrest. Even if the restriction is just 1 second, the law provides me that liberty that nobody should, ideally, under a normal situation, should restrict my liberty. So even if my liberty is being restricted for 1 second, that's an arrest.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Idara. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, to add, yeah. Yeah, by way of a definition, an arrest is the apprehending or taking a person into custody, like he said, usually because the person is suspected of to have committed a criminal offense or observed committing the criminal, or have omitted committed an omission while an offense was being committed. So under any of those circumstances, if the person is being restrained as a result of either they committed or suspected, or there was an omission traced to him during the commission of an offense, he is being restrained, he is being restricted, the movement is being restricted for the sake of punishing him for that offense. That is an arrest. And like he has rightly tried to point out, there are different government bodies that have been created to handle different situations in the society. Security is everybody's business, but if you look at the enabling law in the different security agencies, you will find out that, for instance, the police have a different enablement, what they can do. You find out that the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, they have a different enablement, what they should do. For instance, when it comes to pipelines, oil, minerals, stealing of oil and all that, you find out that it is the Security and Civil Defense Corps. You find out that when it comes to detection and protection of society, detection of crime and protection of the society, it is the police. You find out that when it is actual defense of the country, it is the army. You understand? All these different bodies have different functions within the system, like he was trying to say. Now, when the topic of the day was the role of private person, we were trying to look at who is this private person, for instance, you understand? So that is where it will boil down to. That is why I'm trying to bring out this distinction. For instance, if Brotherhood of the Cross and Star, see somebody that was trying to strangulate some other person, and then they stop him and then they restrain his movement, that is an arrest. If a member actually does that, you understand, and then without the knowledge of Brotherhood of the Cross and Star in any formation or any church, you understand, or any company, that's a private person under the law, and the person is held. He said, oh no, you won't run away until we send you to the law enforcement agency that is responsible for this action you have taken. Let's assume that somebody brought in more than 10,000 liters of fuel into a Brotherhood premises. Let's use that as an example. And then the police trace it to that point. You understand? Maybe a member now decides to inform that, look, more than 10,000 liters of fuel has been brought on into our system. And they tell him who is the person. They say, okay, keep him in that place until we come. You see, that person that is keeping that other person is restraining that person from movement. And that is an arrest. He has already arrested that person until when the law enforcement agents come. You understand? He might even tie him with a rope so that he cannot escape. He can chain him. All those forms of, apprehension,
Yes.
is what we call arrest.
Okay, thank you so very much. Now, I want to know if it's possible for you to arrest an old man or woman. That is number one. Someone that is up to like 80, maybe has been reported to have committed a crime.
Yes.
18, 90.
Yes.
And also, that is number one. Also,
He can
you
be
arrest
arrested.
a deaf and dumb, or maybe someone who is just pretending to be these things I just mentioned, just because he or she does not want
The
to.
law does not qualify anybody when it comes to the commission of a crime. The law does not qualify anybody. There is no qualification of what do they call them? People that they have a disability.
Okay.
The law does not qualify anybody. Persons with disability, They are all persons, full capacity persons under the law. If they commit offenses, the age does not make a person to run out of the qualification of being arrested by a law enforcement agent or by anybody. Once the person has gone contrary to the provisions of the states, which is classified to be a crime, he commits them, he can be arrested, he will be prosecuted, and he will be convicted. The only thing that happens is that at the point of sentencing, there is usually what we call allocutus. And during that allocutus, allocutus is bring out those good aspects of that person that will ameliorate, that will bring down, that will reduce his sentencing. So at that point there is allocutus. Now it is during that allocutus that we say, my Lord, take into consideration his age, my Lord, take into consideration that is a person with disability. It is at that point that all those things are considered. But without allocutus, if the judge decides not to consider, or magistrate decides not to consider allocutus, that is ameliorating factor, any ameliorating, like the age you have mentioned, like a person with disability, then the full sentence and the full course of the law applies.
Wow, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
even this also applies to an imbecile, someone who does not even know. And
we had discussed about a non-compos mentee. We had discussed about that. We mentioned the law treats those people in line with drunken people, people of insane mind, people of unsound mind. In the Latin, they say a non-compos mentee. Those people have a different, because they are taken not to have the capacity to know what they are doing. So they are sent to mental homes.
Psychiatric.
But
They will arrest them first. They will try them, and then at the point of trial, it is discovered that this person is a non-compos mentee. He doesn't have the sound mind and capacity, because for you to be convicted, you must have had the capacity. That is why we're talking about children.
Yes.
At that point we are talking about capacity. Does he have the capacity to know that what he was doing was wrong? If the answer is no, the judge will make an order and send him to a mental facility for observation. And then if the observation comes back that he had the mental capacity to understand what he was doing, but he was pretending, then the full sentencing comes in. And then a grievous sentence will even be imposed for obstruction of the course of justice, because he has committed another offense. And that offense he has committed is the obstruction of course of justice. So extra punishment, that is another offense and another sentence. The obstruction of course of justice. So if it was to go like for 5 years, that one will be for 3 months. So it will go for 5 years and 3 months. It might run consecutively or concurrently. So that is how the law works, because the law understands that somebody can come and be clicking his leg as if he cannot walk, so that he will jump the law. So the law will send him to a mental facility, to a disabled home, and then one day, because he was faking it, he will stand up well and walk. We will arrest him. We will arrest him and say, so you can walk, eh? This man.
I have heard of the story of a disabled man, with one hand, who was accused of stealing salt. I think salt or sugar or thereabouts. And then when he was taken to the court, they said he was not guilty. And then the opponent's lawyer said, you are not guilty, now you may live with the bag of sugar. And he went and carried it with the other hand, and then he was called back.
That's what we are saying. It was just a test to show whether he is actually capable of stealing. So he is capable of carrying the bag of sugar, and that sugar did not belong to him. So whenever you take something that belongs to another with the permanent intention of depriving that person of the ownership, then you have stolen.
And
so
be arrested.
Convicted at that point, not arrested anymore. Convicted. He has gotten to court, so he has already been arrested. So he will now be convicted. Yes. So let's proceed.
So
Thank you very much. You have something to add.
Okay.
If I may add, talking of the age, the status of person that may be arrested or not. See, in Nigeria here, and so many other developed countries, constitutionally, we have some selected people that may not be arrested during their official tenure. That is the president, the vice president, the governor, and deputy governor. Whatever they do while in power, the law give them what we call immunity. But being if suppose they commit a crime, being a crime does not have a lifespan. As soon as they step out of their office, you will now see them. We see law enforcement agencies pursuing them. Like most often in Nigeria here, a sitting governor, people will accuse, or sitting president or government officials will accuse that we have embezzled money, has done this. The law will just be silent. Immediately he step out of office on inspiration of his tenure or whatever, you now see the law enforcement agencies pursuing him or her to arrest. So those are the only exception.
And does it also, does this immunity include murder? So even if they kill while on seat,
The law
will
says
not be arrested.
they will
whatever,
not be
whatever,
killed. Whatever
offense,
they do
whatever
during
offense,
their tenure.
during their while in office, whatever
and
they
then what
do.
happens if they die on seats and they never get to be punished?
Well, that's the act of God.
That is the act of God then.
Oh,
The Lord is the act of
mentioned
God.
God again.
Yes, there's always act of God in issues in life.
Because I feel like while the person is on seats, before, they may commit suicide because they know what they have done and what they stand to face once they leave
The office.
The office, yeah.
Yes.
And they go ahead and commit suicide.
Yes.
Who are you going to punish? Are you going to punish his vice
Now,
or someone close to him?
No,
No.
the person in office. The person in office, he was the actual one that will be held responsible for his own actions.
That's amazing. Okay, thank you very much. We have another question here for you. That is, what are the duties of the Nigerian police force vis-a-vis other security agencies?
It's okay. By Section 4 of the Police Act,
Go on, please. Go on.
by Section 4 of the Police Act 2020, there is a new Police Act 2020. It is the duty of the Nigeria Police Force to, among other duties, prevent and detect crime and protect the rights and freedoms of every person in Nigeria as provided in the Constitution, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and any other law. That is one function of the police. Then there is to maintain public safety, law and order. They are to protect the lives and property of all persons in Nigeria, enforce all laws and regulations without any prejudice to the enabling acts or any other security agency. We try to explain that, the difference between security, defense, and the police. And then discharge such duties within and outside Nigeria as may be required of it under the Act or any other laws. Collaborate with other agencies, other security agencies, to take any necessary action and provide the required assistance or support to persons in distress. You remember that person those police officers that were just disengaged?
Yes.
A Netherlands woman came into the country and was trying to find her way to Abuja. They stopped her and were asking for money. And because of that, they are supposed to actually give assistance and support to persons in distress. Let's take that woman to be a person in distress. She's finding her way from Lagos to Abuja.
Yes.
So instead of that, you stop and be asking for, including victims of road accidents, fire disasters, earthquake and floods, facilitate the passage and movement on highways. So police actually have the highways, what we call them federal highway. You see them on the highway. Roads and streets open to the public, and adopt community partnership in the discharge of its responsibility under this act or any other law. And to vet and approve the registration of private detective schools and private investigative outfits. They are also under Section 83, subsection 1 of the Police Act. They are responsible for maintaining and securing public safety and public order. By Section 83, sub 2 of the Police Act, the police shall, in carrying out its responsibilities under the section, uphold the provisions of the Constitution and other laws, uphold and protect the fundamental human rights of all persons in Nigeria, and be fair to all persons in Nigeria, notwithstanding their economic status or religion, ethnic or political beliefs and affiliations. By Section 83, subsection 3 of the Police Act, the Commissioner of Police of a state is actually responsible for maintaining security, public safety, and public order within that state. So the Commissioner of Police in Cross River State has that duty thrust upon him. Then by Section 83, subsection 4, where a person or organization notifies the police of his or his intention to hold a public meeting, a public rally, or procession on a public highway, or such meeting in a place where the public has access to, the police officer responsible for the area where the meeting, rally, or procession will take place shall mobilize personnel, enough personnel, to provide security cover for that meeting, rally, or procession. Now, under Section 31 of the Police Act, where an alleged offense is reported to the police or a person is brought to the police station on allegation of committing an offense, the police shall investigate the allegation in accordance with due process and report its finding to the Attorney General of the Federation or the Attorney General of a state, as the case may be, for legal advice. And then by Section 32, sub 1 of the Police Act, a suspect or defendant alleged or charged with committing an offense established by an act of the National Assembly or under any other law shall be arrested, investigated, and tried or dealt with according to the provisions of this act, except otherwise provided under this act. Under Section 32, sub 2 of the Police Act, there is a provision that a person shall not be arrested merely on a civil wrong or breach of contract. I think we should discuss maybe 1 minute here. Okay. You see, there was a situation, maybe there is a landlord or tenant issue, and then the next thing the man brings in police to come and arrest the tenant. No, that is a civil wrong. That is a breach of contract. Police does not have jurisdiction in that one. Somebody promised to marry somebody, at the end of the day he didn't marry. It is not police matter. Breach of marry, a breach of promise to marry is not a police matter. It is, you take the person to court, and then you take the person to court, and then where it is found that there was such a relationship and that the person has breached, you didn't commit any offense.
But police of nowadays, they do that a lot.
No, but that's why we are telling. That's why we are saying it now.
Yes.
That it is very wrong for a police officer to be involved in a tenancy matter.
But these things,
somebody entered into agreement to borrow money, unless there is advance fee fraud. Let me explain what I mean. At least
I think we are running out of
No, 1 minute will be okay for me to explain.
Okay.
1 minute is okay. What I'm trying to say, so that we don't come back to this.
Okay.
When we come, we continue from somewhere else.
All right.
What I'm trying to say is that there are people that they are actually the people borrowing the money, but they will front, I am the one borrowing the money. I will bring Barrister Ida Rebo. Ida Rebo will come and collect the money. I will now guarantee the loan that he collected. Meanwhile, Ida Rebo will hand over that loan to me after he has collected. He is not the one collecting that loan. If you look at the entire transaction, you will find out that there is an advance fee fraud inside it, because this is the man collecting the loan. Oga, where is the money you collected? I handed it over to Barrister Kenneth. Meanwhile, Barrister Kenneth is actually the shorty. He is not the one that collected the money. He is shorty.
Yes.
But it is Barrister Idarebo that collected the money. So there is element of fraud. So in that kind of case, the police can come in. But if it was direct, that it was you that collected, I shorted you, and I agree that in case you cannot pay, I will pay that money. You understand? The correct thing to do is to take that matter to the court and then have my account garnished. You get that money from my account. Even if I'm collecting salary, the court can make an order every month, collect 200,000 from his account until the money is fully liquidated. But otherwise, when we now discover that there is a ring and there are people that were involved, at the end of the day, the man that actually collected the money didn't even see a kobo, there is an element of fraud. And so the police can be involved.
Okay. Okay, thank
Yes.
you so very much. I still have questions, but these questions I would keep until next
No,
week.
if you have like 1 minute, we can answer you.
No, we do not have time.
Okay.
We have just a minute to go, and that's for our closing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to use this opportunity to thank you both for coming. You, Barrister Kenneth Itora Abasi, may the Father bless you. Thanks for coming, sir.
All right.
How do I greet a barrister? I don't know. Am I going to say your honor, sir? I don't know.
That's for a magistrate or
Okay.
customary court judge.
Okay, thank you
Yes.
very much, sir, for coming.
Yes.
And to you, Barrister Christ Ambassador, Barrister Idara Ebo, thank you so much for coming. May the Father bless you. And to you, our beloved audience, thank you so much for staying tuned. And Sister Gladys Oyabo, may the Father bless you abundantly. And to you also, watching without a word, thank you very much. I know you have learned a whole lot. Thank you so very much. For now, this is where we are going to be drawing our curtains. It is 8:30 on the dot, and the topic has been the role of private persons in the arrest and prosecution of offenders under the law. We are not done. By next week Friday, we will complete, or maybe complete it. I don't know. We are going to complete it by next week Friday. So if you're wondering why we are cutting you short, we are really sorry. We are just being timely here because we have other things to do. So till we come your way next time, remain blessed. My name is Ruth Obu.
Television. God